Are we live? We're live. All right, it is cold out. I'm walking the puppy right now, and just want to record this live podcast just to get the day started and working and live. And what do we have? I just want to capture an image of this. That's all right. I don't even need to capture it. Out walking the puppy right now, doing a live podcast, just sharing some of the ideas that are rattling around inside the head, getting them outside the head and working. Most excited about this morning is workflow. How to be able to take the most illegitimate or simple, it's not even illegitimate, it's the simplest way of being able to operate and then turning it into something substantial and meaningful on the back end. So right now what I'm doing is I'm walking my puppy. I would be having a conversation with myself in my head, because that's what we do. We have conversations with ourselves in our heads. All I'm doing right now is I am taking this conversation and I'm focusing it outwards, and I'm having a conversation on a podcast, creating this thing for an audience of one. That audience of one is me, or my future self on the back end. And then what's going to happen on this is going to kick off a whole set of workflows. So I'm going to book this as a meeting with myself. Other people might be able to join in on the meeting for some of the stuff that we are creating. What that's going to start kicking off is a meeting agenda of what are the stuff that we're working on. And here's the thing. We want to be able to create stuff that's actually simple and is natural where we're out there in the wild, but have the impacts of occurring as legit. I think that is magic. Like having real results happen out there in the world that impress people. So we get to operate and do the stuff we want to do. And maybe walking your puppy's not your thing, right? Maybe you want to be on a spin bike doing this. But the easiest way to be able to communicate ideas and communicate things that are important to us is via voice, my perspective. And so each one of these events starts to kick off a workflow of possibilities and put stuff out there into the universe that could potentially be impactful and important. So imagine, let me just capture the imagination here for a second. Imagine, you just go, for a walk in the woods, which is my passion, how I want to do most of my work. And then real stuff just happens out there in the world. Substantial stuff just happens out there in the world through the energy that gets created, but also through partnerships and relationships. When somebody hears something and they're like, I want to do something with this. So somebody might pick up this podcast and listen to it and be like, oh, that is interesting. Hey, so-and-so is already doing all that. Why don't you connect with them? Or that's inspiring. I get what you're doing, but I don't quite understand what it is. And that's it. Yeah, so we just create these podcasts. Now, it's important for me to create a podcast because that's where we get into the share component. It gives more energy to it when it gets shared out there in the world, as opposed to just sitting, idly by inside of our notes and inside of our phone and inside of our head. So there's a couple of different things. I'm just effectively amplifying my thoughts out to the world right now. Meaning, that's what I'm doing. I'm amplifying my thoughts out to the world right now. And I'm speaking them, which actually puts them out there. But I'm also speaking them into a place where they can get heard by people. Now, if I'm inspired on the back end, I might share this more widely to other people and share this to people who this might be interesting in. Or I might just leave this out there as a test balloon in the wild, which is my preference, and then see what actually comes back. See who gets interested in the idea. See who cares about it. See who's paying attention to it. See who listens to it. See where it could potentially matter and be impactful. So that is exciting. That's interesting. That's fun. That's invigorating for me to literally just be able to go out for a walk with a puppy and then have real results happen in the background. I mean, real results that impact people's lives and real results that turn into dollars. And those are the measures, the ones that impact people's lives and the ones that turn into dollars. And as long as we can continue to do this, then I think that is a life worth living, right? And it's a fun pursuit because it's not natural to sit in front of a Zoom. It's not natural. It's not the way that we to sit. What's natural is us for being out in the wild and walking. But for those of us who are desk jockeys, as opposed to real jockeys, we need ways to be able to produce things that could potentially be meaningful. So we go idea to reality at the speed of thought. It really comes down to idea to reality at the speed of voice, being able to share out ideas and share out snippets that could potentially have an impact out there in the world. And that's exciting. That's fun. I do want to get my speaker hooked up to my Apple podcast. So this goes through to the Apple podcast, and literally just going for these walks and talks and sharing and connecting, and then seeing what actually shows up on the back end is a fun way to be able to show up. So we'll start getting into some more practical aspects of this, especially as people are starting to listen in and connect. Yep, especially as people are starting to listen and connect, then that becomes a little fun, even more of a fun way to be able to communicate and to be able to share. So I'm going to end this one. I'm going to have a couple of conversations directly on LinkedIn. I got to get the stylus out right now because it is freaking cold. It's cold right now on the outside, so I'm going to get the stylus out and hopefully be able to switch back and forth between a couple of the different apps and just being able to talk and make connections with people in a way that is fun and potentially inspiring and connection worthy. So thanks so much and have an amazing day.